Hi, thank you so much for coming. Today I'm going to go through Josephine Trott, Etude number 9. Congratulations, you're coming towards a much better player when you encounter double stops. When it comes to double stops, it's very much like you're attending a kind of checkup session with your optometrist. And when you see one eye perfectly, and can you see both eyes perfectly? And it's like you playing one note in tune, but when you put another note together, are you in tune together? And that is the biggest challenge. I have a little bit of cough. In the bow, in the study, make sure that your right hand is perched on both strings. You are not actually trying to balance or find the center, but you just have a general idea. For instance, the first note, it's on D and G string, provided you tune all your strings first, and that's most important. After you encounter, you can see that those are the two strings you're both supposed to be on, and then you let go the pressure on the right hand, right fingers, and your right arm. Do not press. Yes, double stop requires more sound, but do not press the sound. And this is the reason. If you perch like a bird to land on both strings, you will be able to maintain this balance, this right angle, that be able to touch both strings very, very perfectly. But if you are pressing on it, sometimes you might be more on G, sometimes you might be more on the D string. So it's the best just to relax, drop your hand, let the weight of the bow encounter both strings. And then towards about 6 inches in, you are starting to land the weight so the bow can sustain the sound. Now the first 3 chords has accent on them. Be sure these accents are clean but round, as if 2 voices are beautifully accented, emphasize the first note. It's not a punch, this kind of sound, but feel like you are sinking into the snow or into the sand. It's a little bit of kick-off kind of sound. So you will have not a very depressed and sharp angle of sound. That's on the right hand, the first 3 chords. The left hand, make sure your thumb is a little bit lower. It allows you more room right around here so that you will have more room to breathe. Therefore, your right hand can slightly vibrate, so your left hand can slightly vibrate and not pinched or squeezed and so tight. When it comes to double stop, most students think it's very difficult, so they squeeze on the left hand and they press more on the right hand. And just tell yourself doing exactly the opposite. One of the tricks that I ask students to practice in the beginning, the double stops, is of course you have to make it very in tune. But while you practice in tune, you play it in piano, so really soft. That way it eliminates the pressure from the right hand. If your right hand is released and it's relaxed, then your left hand will also relax a little bit, because these are very effective with each other. And that is the biggest thing. Once you get used to the notes and your sound, you're satisfied with the sound, then you land a little bit of weight. You're not pressing, but you feel like your weight is heavier. Your arm is actually quite heavy, and you just land it heavier onto the string. And definitely use more bow. And when you're heavier and using more bow, your sound point will change, getting a little closer to the bridge naturally. Otherwise, you will not hear a very good sound. If you want a good sound with heavy and long bow, your sound point will change on its own. The other thing is that in the very beginning, when you practice double stop, you need to be very patient. Every note must be absolutely in tune before you can go on to the next note. That is to train yourself to hear better. You only have to do it for the first week or two if you practice every day. Because once it's like you seeing something 20/20, that is your standard of seeing. That is your standard of hearing. And once you have that, you will always default to that here onwards. You don't need to work on that much of hearing anymore. Although, of course, every piece has its own challenge. So when you play the first note, and the next note, take care that your right hand, remember, always sing, always long bow. So you will play, and that is your right hand. And when you add your third finger down, double stop, it's the same kind of right hand. I know that's a lot of information. Hopefully you can understand a little bit, and you can always re-watch it, or you can come up with your own language. Another thing I would like to address when it comes to double stop practice is that when you play two notes, and if they're out of tune, which will happen very often to me too, that you don't know which one is out of tune. We can blame the lower note, or we can blame the top note, and it just gets frustrating. And I remember my teacher always said, listen to the bottom note. Make sure your bottom note is in tune. You have, for instance, this G is not in tune. This open G is, but third finger is not. Right? But you know your G, open G, the lower note is in tune. And this is the next trick. When you're pressing double stops, make sure your finger pressure is not 100%, not pressing beyond the fingerboard. Very light and cushy, then you feel like there's still room to breathe between the flesh of your finger and the wood. Because when it's out of tune, and if you're very light, I mean not that light, you are able to move and move quickly. One of the biggest challenges for students is to play legato. In the double stop exercise, legato it often feel like you don't want to connect your bow because your left hand is not ready, and I am the same way. But I would challenge you to play when you practice any double stops, to let your right hand, as if nothing happens, the right hand, as if the right hand doesn't know what's happening on the left. So you are just simply going 1, 2, 3. Because that's the job of the right hand. That's all the strings the right hand's supposed to play. We like to stop the right hand because we want to wait for the left hand to get ready. The challenge is that don't give it time. Left hand just have to get ready. The more you review the shortcoming of the left hand, the quicker you are able to make it faster and make it improve so much more in a short amount of time. So I will challenge you to follow beautiful phrase and beautiful bow change in this exercise, as if you are just playing single note. Now, Trott also had a very interesting composition tip for reminding your left hand should be very light by adding 2 artificial harmonics from time to time. That just means it's time to relax your left hand. Make sure you take note of that and relax. And a note on those harmonics. Whenever you play harmonics or artificial harmonics, the pressure on the left hand is only about, you have to lighten quite a bit to make it sound bright and whistling, but the right hand should be at about forte kind of weight. If it's too light, this sound will sound a little bit fuzzy. So the right away your sound point for the harmonic has to come back towards the bridge a little bit and make it heavier and slower bow. Not so, then you may lose control of it. So the bow speed when it comes to harmonic in this study, you have to immediately draw back the speed and make it heavier. And that's all I can think of what to say for this study, and also for double stop practice in general. I hope that was helpful. Any questions, please post on the comment section, and I always appreciate your support. I hope I'm here to help you. Have a lovely day. See you next video.